The Poppy War series is my favorite book series ever, so nobody asked for this video, but I really wanted to talk about this series ever since its last book was released in 2020. But let's start at the beginning. The Poppy War series is made by R.F. Kuang. It follows Rin, a war orphan in a world inspired by the Song dynasty in the Second Sino-Japanese War. Now that is all I can really say without spoiling things, but I wanted to go into detail about the history this book is based on, and how it basically made China into what it is today. This era is one of the most brutal times in Chinese history. China's history is kind of sad and brutal, honestly. For most of its history, China was either fighting itself or basically getting raped by one faction or another. And the 20th century saw the rise of Imperial Japan. Nowadays, the Japanese are one of the most respected and peaceful countries in the world. But back in those days, Japan was a beast. Just for reference, this is Japan now, and this is Imperial Japan. After being disrespected by the West and going through industrialization, Japan decided it had enough of everybody's shit and just started taking over everything. The Japanese people became indoctrinated into believing if they died in the service of their emperor, they would go to heaven, and the Japanese military was a force to be reckoned with, even defeating the Russian Empire with ease. Then there's China, which hadn't even industrialized, and most of the country were just farmers, because of either corruption or the absence of the middle class. The nobles ruled their own regions of China with an iron grip, always building up their military in case another region invaded, but they were never able to combine their forces under a single leader. Then Rin is born. Now I should mention some parts of this history are altered in the story, but that's basically what led up to the events of the Poppy War. Now there are way too many reasons I love this series, but I'll go over a few. First, the world is unique and really mystical. Nowadays, if you imagine fantasy, the first stories to come to mind are Western stories of knights, lords, and ladies, and I love those stories, but it's really refreshing to see a series with such a unique concept, and it never really defines its own world. Over the course of the books, we kind of understand how the power system works, but it's still just enough secretive to make it really fascinating. Then there's the gripping story. The story is fucked up. Now I personally really love brutal and dark stories like Berserk and Game of Thrones, so it might not be best suited for you, but these kinds of stories really help you understand war. The atrocities in this book are based on real world history and are really tough to read sometimes, and I think the best way I could describe it is a brutal adult version of the Avatar. It's just my type of story. And finally, there is the impact of the story it's based on. Rin can best be described as a mix between Azula and Mao Zedong, and Mao is one of the most evil people in history that most people never learn about. To catch you up, Mao Zedong is a Chinese communist revolutionary who was the founding father of the People's Republic of China, which later became the CCP. And Mao basically made China into what it is today. So seeing this history represented in a fantasy book is really cool. The Poppy War has been picked up by a studio for a TV show, so I'm really excited for that as well. I usually don't talk about book series, so let me know if you want more content like this, and thanks for watching.